less time than I would like to, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to fit it all. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about presentation structure. And before I'm going to go into my lecture, before I'm going to talk about presentation structure, I wanted to ask you guys, how do you feel after this first presentation? What are your thoughts? How did it go? What made you nervous? What didn't? How do you feel about the format? Any surprises? Or anything like, ooh, I didn't know I do that, or I did, or...
I'm super really nervous thinking about what's to come with the future presentations, especially because they're more research-based. And perhaps in this group it's going to be a little different because not everyone here is from my area of research. So it's not like they're there to catch what I'm saying wrong or they kind of be really critical. It's more like you're listening for information. But it still makes me nervous, and then when I think, well, when I'm practicing in here is something I could potentially present to my department, that's what really makes me nervous.
Well, think about it. Remember Thomas, he was talking about certain ways of visualizing yourself and how he's focusing on certain things that might help you. Maybe this is something you should focus on, like you said. These are not the people who are from my department. You have a very sympathetic audience. You have audience. First of all, you have audience who you already know, which kind of makes it a little easier because it's like there's not new people, I'm going to be talking to them. And second, maybe focus on that as something that maybe can help you relax. Okay, they are not from my department. They are not there. They're not my committee. They're not my peers who will review my article. Those are people who will look at my presentation skills, so I can get better at that, and then I'm going to work on my content and strengthen it when I present to my peers. Kind of treat us like your training group, like people who are here to help you with whatever you're struggling with apart from your professional content, which might put you at ease a little bit if you think about it, because we have no idea what to do, which is kind of cool, because this is something that you can just present to us in an easy enough way so we know what you're saying, but you can focus on those things that stress you out, the delivery, the volume, the body language, what you do, and we're here to help you with it. So it's maybe switch of focus can be a little bit relaxing or putting you at ease, I would think. Maybe, I don't know. We'll try. We will be very helpful and very nice.
I think it's safe to say that in this setting, each of you is the expert in what you are going to be talking about. So that might put you more at ease too, that you know the most about what you're talking about of anybody in this classroom.
Yep, that's true.
Which is unique, a unique experience, right? We don't get that all the time.
Yep, we rarely get that. Let's face it, because if we present, we usually have people who look at us and think, oh, really?
Yeah.
And did you read that study? We don't know that was a study. So hey, don't worry. These people scare me the most always. You know these people who are like, who have this scary brain capacity where they remember who did which study in which year. Did you read Wilson, who did this thing with Smith 97? She works in Purdue. No, I know. But I don't even, that's my biggest stress in presentations. I don't remember like this. I remember content. My brain works in a way that there was this guy, and he did this thing, and the outcome was very interesting. And I can remember someone's hypothesis, and if they turn out or not, I'm not going to remember his name ever. I just recently, and I wanted to tell you about it too, because I was looking at it, and I thought, oh, I have to get some cards because they're going to feel better. I was looking at my references for my thesis, and I saw this one guy, Wilson, and I was like, oh, I have 6 articles by him. Really? And then I realized that because I was reading it in the span of the last, like, year and a half or so, I never noticed that all these articles is the Wilson guy. And I just looked at my reference and I was like, oh, well, there you go, look at him. And don't worry about this. It happens, and we don't know it. We don't know that you don't remember. We don't even know that you wrote all that. So this is a perfect environment for that. You can focus on all the things that are not Wilson, and if we read him, and work on the stuff that makes you nervous. Yeah. questions, concerns, wonderings, reflections?
So to me, I was not expecting to become as nervous as I became, because I was thinking that, well, it's 3 minutes, you know, I have maybe lectures of half an hour or something, and, you know, I have, so the 3 minutes about yourself and your life is kind of easy. And I became very, very nervous. So I think that taught me something that, well, you always have to be prepared to do things. I mean, and, you know, take your time and rehearse too. So, yeah, that taught me something.
Preparation puts you at ease, I would say, definitely. Yeah, going on that point, like, I fought like every impulse not to wing it. Like, I think that's a coping mechanism of mine, or a defense mechanism for like, oh, if it's something so like, oh, 3-minute presentation, I can do that, and I can just go up and do it. And I'm like, fought every impulse. I'm like, I'm going to prepare for it. I'm going, even though I forgot today that I was going to go, but I did like prepare, and just like that little preparation, like definitely helps.
I think so. I think that's the thing that does put you at ease. It's like, you know what you're going to do, and this is always better than, yeah, it can be a coping mechanism though. I think you're right. Some people might be just, I'm not going to prepare because if I'm going to prepare, I'm going to stress out about it. This is something I want to talk to you about because that's what I'm going to talk about structure. I'm going to talk about preparing your outline and structuring your presentation in a way that will hopefully put you at ease and will help you prepare something that up here will be your help, not another source of stress. And this is the reason why I'm emphasizing it is because this class is about anxiety and is about presentation and it's about how to make yourself feel better up here. Many people prepare outlines in ways that instead of putting them at ease, add more stress to their presentation. And I feel like if you work on preparing a good outline, on preparing a good structure that works for you, this can become another factor that is there to help you. This can become your little, how do you call it, safety blanket, security blanket? Security, okay. This can become your little cushion that you can lean on when you're stressed out. And you're thinking, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. Oh, I know, I totally do. And this is how I want you to think about your outline. Remember when Margaret mentioned, when we were talking about outlines, that she first writes down almost everything she's going to say, and then as she practices, she takes stuff out gradually, and then she's left with a few more main points. I'm very glad she mentioned it, because it is an actual technique in public speaking classes and in rhetoric in general that's called the difference between working outline and delivery outline. Working outline is something that you prepare as you work on your presentation. And you can put almost everything in there. You can put what you're going to say, you can put sentences, you can put your oral citations, so your sources. You can put as many details as you possibly want. And this is your working outline. As you work on preparing your presentation, this is what gives you an exact idea of where you're going to be, how you want your timing to go, everything. And then from this, somehow you're supposed to move on to a delivery outline. An outline that's not going to be a manuscript, but that's going to be something that will make you comfortable out here, that will let you know where you are. And now, many times people think, okay, why can't I use my working outline? Why can't I write down literally every single word that I'm going to say? It's going to put me on ease. Well, research shows it really won't. The reason for that is that when you're presenting, your delivery is so different from when you're sitting in a chair and reading your speech, that if you try to physically read your manuscript out loud here, it's not going to come, first of all, it's not going to come out naturally, because when we write stuff, it has different stops, it has different pauses, it doesn't have a conversational flow to it. And second, if you work with a manuscript, 90% of the time you're going to go off your time limit one way or the other. Because when we read stuff out loud, we read it differently than if we sit in a chair and we read it and we think we're going to be fine. So working outline is better to prepare, but then to kind of fade it out into an actual delivery outline. Some that I would like to let you know about that I don't know if it's going to help you, but it helps me. We talked about time limit and how distracting it can be and how to deal with that. What you can do is on your outline, as you go through things, and as you have your main points listed, you can write what time should be which part. You see what I'm saying? Instead of, for instance, saying, okay, I have 15 minutes for my presentation, and I should be in my 5th minute, it's usually easier to look at the watch, or sometimes you even have a watch on the wall. So let's say if you start at 1 and you know you have 15 minutes, by 1:03 you should be here. By 1:08 you should be here. If it's 1:08 and you're here, you know you have to speed up a little bit. If it's 1:08 and you're here, you know you can easily slow down and get towards your conclusion. That helps sometimes. That helps dealing with time limits. If you tell yourself at what time you should be where, that lets you adjust as you go through your presentation. You can slow down, you can speed up. Sometimes you can even drop certain things. If you realize all of a sudden, for instance, that there's no way I'm going to do it. It's always better to drop one of the main points than to drop conclusion, for instance. Because if you cut presentation in the middle, people are going to have a very negative impression of what you did, because they're never going to get the, okay, that was a hole. They're never going to get this impression if you cut it. So it's faced with a choice like, oh crap, I'm running out of time, and it's always better to cut part of the body of the speech, but still get your conclusion in. And you can even say, you know what, I didn't anticipate that time's going to pass so quickly, so this is the point I skipped, but I hope that from my presentation you got the impression of this and this and that, and just go with the main points that you were able to include. It's okay. It's okay to say it. Remember, communicative orientation, not performance orientation. If you want to tell people that you skipped something because you didn't have time, tell them. It's okay. It's something you would say to your friend if you were talking to them. And I feel like Professor Motley emphasized it, and I think it's very, very important to understand why he emphasized it. Because things like that, for instance, if we have too strong of a performance orientation, we sometimes tend to, oh, I can't tell them that I skipped something, or I can't tell them that I didn't realize the time was passing, or I can't tell them. Yes, you can. It's okay. We're here, we're talking, things change. You can tell us. We would rather you tell us than go, and we don't know what's happening. We know something's happening, but we don't know what. Or if you freeze, and you don't know what's going on, and you don't know where you are, and you feel like, okay, I'm here, I have to get to my outline because I'm drawing a blank, I have no idea what to do. It's always better to say, give me a second, where was I? And look at that. Instead you're thinking, I don't know what to do. It's okay, if you don't know what to do, tell us that you're lost, shut your outline, and continue. We know you have an outline. We didn't expect you to memorize it all. So think about it this way. What is the worst thing that can happen? You can draw a blank. Okay? They're going to look at your outline and tell us you need to catch up. Done. Problem dealt with. Why stress out about it? What is the worst thing that's going to happen? Oh, I'm going to forget. Okay, then I'm going to look at my outline. It's okay. Or, oh my God, I always forget this guy's last name. Then I'm going to read it. You can even tell us, you know what, I always forget this guy's last name. So there you go. And really, I mean, yeah, we're not going to write a review about you in New York Times the next day. You're not an actor. So yeah, that's one impression that I want you to take from it. The difference between working outline and delivery outline. Now, about parts and structure. Usually in our circumstances, we will be giving what's called an informative presentation rather than persuasive. Basically, speeches are usually divided by three what is called communicative purposes, and there are three possible communicative purposes: to inform, to persuade, or to entertain.
potential public presentation you can think of is going to fulfill one of these three communicative purposes. It's always going to either inform, persuade, or entertain. And by entertain, I don't mean haha entertain, I mean entertain as in evoke an emotion. Any kind of emotion. It can be sad, it can be thoughtful, it can be a reflection, so anything that deals with emotion that's going to be entertaining. In our fields, usually what we do is we inform. We rarely persuade. We might, so I'm going to briefly mention persuasive structures, but mostly I'm going to focus on informative structure. Informative structure is very similar in three parts to every single essay we ever wrote in our life, which is introduction, body, and conclusion. And honestly, as funny as it sounds, that's a good place to start. Really, I mean, think of, okay, I have a 15-minute presentation. What am I supposed to do? Well, I have to have an introduction, body, and conclusion, right? I have to have my intro, I have to have my body, and I have to have my conclusion. And now you're thinking, okay, let's say I have 15 minutes, right? How long I want my conclusion to be. My conclusion I want to be the shortest. So let's say I'm going to give myself 2 minutes for a conclusion, okay? My introduction, maybe 3. I want it to be a little longer than the conclusion, but I don't want it to be 90% of my speech. Let's make it a 3, okay? We're done with 5 minutes, right? That gives us 10 minutes for the body. That's a good start for any presentation. Okay, now what I'm going to do. I have to divide body into main points. How many main points can I fit in 10 minutes? Let's try 3, maybe. If I know that this is my 3, then I have about 3 minutes for all of them. That gives me a great little 30-second room for transitions, which I'm going to talk about. All right, then you go next. There are 4 things that usually have to happen in any introduction to any presentation that's supposed to be effective and really communicative. You have to get our attention. You have to introduce the topic. You have to establish your credibility. And you have to preview the main points. About getting attention. Don't think that getting attention means I have to go up there and say a joke. No. If I said, do you remember the very first day when I stood in front of the class and I didn't do anything? I just looked at you. And at some point, other people got quiet and everybody started looking at you. And I said, see, that's what I did to get your attention. I stood here and I didn't do anything. I just looked at you. That's how you know I'm your speaker. Did I have your attention that first day? I did. There's a woman standing here. She doesn't say anything, and she's facing us. She's probably going to talk to us. That's a great attention getter. You don't have to be incredibly funny, or fabulously entertaining, or memorize a play or quote. No. You just have to do something that will let your audience know, okay, hi, I am the speaker, and you're the audience. Ready? Let's go. That's really what you're doing. I would strongly discourage, honestly, from jokes. The problem with jokes is that if they're not funny, it's really embarrassing. And we have a very different sense of humor. And imagine you think something is just hilarious, and you're going to go up there and you're going to say it, and you're going to look at you, really? Are you serious? Not funny. Which happens. You know how sometimes people try to be funny and you're thinking, oh, not working for you. Well, you don't want to be that person. And I honestly discourage people from making jokes because it's really hard to assume that out of 20 people, every single one is going to have similar sense of humor. You don't know it. Maybe they will and maybe they won't. And the second thing is, with jokes, hearing you and understanding them is usually crucial. And at the very beginning, your audience might not quite pay attention to you. They may remember to turn off their phone. They might need a second to get used to your delivery, either because you have an accent or you speak fast or slow or whatever. Or they just need to look at you. You don't want the success of the first 3 seconds of your presentation, you're relying on if they understood you or not, because you're trying to make a joke. So that's something I would say, I don't know. Honestly, I don't encourage jokes strongly. You can ask a question, you can start with a story, you can start with a quote, you can start with whatever, or you can just let us know, hey, I'm the speaker, you're the audience, let's go. And you usually do it just by standing there. Topic. It's not a surprise, it's not a, woo, I'm going to tell you about, so tell us what you're going to tell us. That's always a good thing to do an informative presentation. Your audience feels prepared, they feel respected, they feel like, okay, this is why I'm here, this is what I'm going to be hearing about, that's good. This is the moment on a conference when people not interested in this panel can leave. That's always a good one. Oh, we're going to be talking about this. Oh, really? And then that's always a good moment. So you're going to let us know what you're talking about. Credibility. The reason why you establish your credibility, and you basically tell people why you know what you're talking about, is because you don't want to stand up here and talk and having people wonder, okay, and who are you exactly? I mean, why? So it's very useful to even briefly just, oh, this is how long I've been doing it, or this is my doctoral dissertation, or this is my field of interest that I've been working in for this many years, or this is what, just give us a quick, okay, why exactly are we supposed to listen to you? And this is useful in almost all of the circumstances, because even if you teach a class, for instance, okay, I would come here and I would say, my name is Barbara Mishtik, I have a master's degree in sociology, I'm working on my master's degree in communication, and I'm going to be teaching you organic chemistry. Don't. Because you're not going to know what you're talking about, and I really wouldn't. I don't even know what organic chemistry is exactly. If I, however, come here and I tell you, okay, my name is Barbara Mishtik, I have a master's degree in sociology, and I'm working on a master's degree in communication, and I teach public speaking and interpersonal communication and intercultural communication, organizational communication, then you have a feeling, okay, maybe she has something to say that might be of interest to me. That's always useful. That lets your audience know, okay, I want to listen to you. And finally, preview your main points. Let your audience know how you're going to move. People don't like surprises. We don't like to not know what's going on. We like to know this is how it's going to happen. I'm going to take you on a journey, and I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go through here, and I'm going to end here. It's going to be fun. It's a nice thing to do. We like to know what's going on. And finally, research shows that it's very hard for us to really listen to things that people say, because it's called something gap. I don't remember what gap. But basically, when we physically process words, we can process like 800 more words than you could say in a minute. And we have a huge gap between how much we can process and how much you can physically say. So it's hard sometimes for us to focus on things that people say. And usually what happens with your audience's attention is, goes in, and goes out, goes in, and goes out. And the reason for why so many teachers told you, tell us what you're going to tell us, and then tell us, and tell us what you told us, is to hope to get your entire audience on this in and out, and in and out, because hopefully they will be able to listen. Okay, so you know you're going to do that, and then you just fill it in. You're like, okay, I'm going to stand here, cool. I'm going to talk about zebras. I just remembered it. I'm going to tell them this is my PhD. And I'm going to tell them that I'm going to be talking about zebras here, and zebras here, and zebras there. 3 places. There you go. And you have your presentation. What were you worried about? You have it. You put it in your outline, you're done. You have your introduction. You have 3 minutes, done. Before we get there, I want to get there. Conclusion. What do you want to do in your conclusion? You want to signal your conclusion. You want to let us know, okay, I'm almost done. This is, again, useful for several reasons. First of all, for those of us who do, she know what time it is? I don't know. It lets you know, I do. I know what time it is, I'm almost done, just bear with me. So you signal conclusion. You review your main points, again, for those in and out. In, this is the signal, oh, I didn't listen. What was it about? Oh, it was about that. Okay. So this kind of lets you know again what I told you. I told you that. Remember that. Because if you want to write it down and you want to tell your friend, oh, I heard this woman at a conference and she was talking about this and this and that, then even if you didn't listen to me that closely, you're still going to know that I was the person who was talking to you about this and this and that. That's always good for professors who kind of nodded off maybe a little bit during your presentation because they didn't really care. Or they did research on this one already, so they kind of tune you out, and then they didn't notice that you were also talking about this. This is a good moment to let them know, okay, this is what I did. Did you notice? And then finally you end. And that's always an awkward question. How do you really end? Like, what do you do? And there are different types of endings. One is circular endings. So what you do is you say, and this is how zebras migrate. Because you told us that you're going to be talking about how they migrate, and then you talked and talked and talked, and see, see? Now you know how they migrate, because I told you that's what I'm going to tell you. So this is a circular ending. You come back to your beginning. You can have a crescendo ending, which is better for persuasive speaking, but you can also. Crescendo ending basically means, and there you go. I told you. See? Any sudden statement that you end it with, any strong finish, anything that is like, and that's why you should never, or you should always, or absolutely, that's why I say it's good for persuasive speaking. That's called crescendo ending. Finally, you can have a diminishing ending. Diminishing ending is when you tell your audience, and this is usually what we do in academic world at least. You tell us what you told us, you conclude, and then you say, and I hope for future research. And then you leave. Or you say, and this is where I would like it to go in the future. And you leave. You kind of leave us with some mental space to process what you just did. You lead us to your ending, and then you kind of leave us with what you did, and give us a second to process what just happened. And you say, okay, this is how I see it going, or these are certain things that I think would be cool for future research interests, or this is how I would like to, and you kind of give us this like, and this is what I call a think about it. Like you leave your audience with a little space, and that's called diminishing it. Man, you know what? I'm not going to tell you about in detail, in as much detail as I would like to, about different ways you can construct your body of your speech. But here's what I am going to tell you. In any public speaking book, it's a good one, and in the book that we recommended, the Speaker's Guidebook, there are certain ways to organize the main points of your body that are suitable for certain topics. So for instance, first of all, there are ways to organize informative speeches versus persuasive speeches. So you're answering yourself a question. Okay, what am I doing? Am I persuading them or am I informing them? If you're informing them, there are certain ways to organize the main points. If you're persuading them, there are certain ways to organize your main points. And they basically depend, the different ways basically depend on how your main points are tied together. And what do you think will be the most effective way to present them? And I'm going to give you very brief examples of what I'm talking about, but I would definitely recommend looking into it and checking either the Speaker's Guidebook or any public speaking book. It's very understandable. I'm just going to let you know why would you do that. For instance, for informative speeches, chronological order. Anytime you want to present anything in a time sequence, something happened first, and something happened afterwards, and then something happened afterwards, that's called chronological order, and that's how you organize main bodies of your speech. So you say, first I'm going to tell you about this, and you start in 1800s, and then I'm going to tell you about this, which happened in 1920, and then I'm going to finish with 70s and after. Let's say something is organized topically. You have a main topic, and it has some things related to it. There are either subtopics, or one person doing 3 types of research, or basically one topic that has subdivisions, that's a topical pattern. You take different aspects of the same topic and you present them as in one way you can look at this is this one. The other topic related to this one is this one. You organize it as subtopics of one area of interest. The other one is spatial. Spatial is, let's say, you do research related to different parts of the world. That's a good way to organize it. Okay, first I'm going to tell you guys what happens here, and then I'm going to tell you what happens here, and then I'm going to tell you what happens here. That's a spatial organization. If you feel like organizing things in space, and again, I'm thinking about Alex, I'm sorry, but maybe her research would be a good, maybe that would be a good example of organizing her speech, because she deals, do you deal with different regions in the world, or just one?
Different sub-regions of the same region.
Okay. And for instance, she could either organize it by this is what I'm doing with this aspect of their behavior, this aspect or this aspect, but she could also do it, okay, this region, and that region. So depending on how your research is organized, you can choose the structure that will fit it best. And there's a problem solution, there's narrative, there's circular, they're all described. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't know where my time limit. But basically what you need to do is ask yourself, this is the main points I want to present, what would be the most effective way to tie them together? And you say, okay, these are three things I want to say. Maybe I can present them like this, maybe I can present them this and that, maybe I can divide them by topics. There you go, now this is done. And one thing, final thing I want to mention before I finish, that again helps your audience and I feel like helps you, gives you a little breather in your outline, transition. Be clear to transition from one point to the other. That's a big thing in academic presentations. People don't do that, and it's hard to follow. If you guys don't say, now I'm done with this, let's move on to that. Now I'm done with this. First, I reviewed that. Secondly, I would like to mention that. People are not going to follow your structure because your structure is clear only for you. We don't know what you have up here, and we don't know what you have up here. So without the little, we've done that, let's move on. We've done this, let's move on. We don't know where you are. So for instance, if you're telling us at the beginning, this is what I'm going to talk about, then really talk about it afterwards. And it doesn't have to be like a lot in your speech. It doesn't have to be, now I'm going to transition. No. Just little ways of letting us know where you are right now. I told you, I'm going to talk about this, I'm going to talk about this. Let me not talk about body right now. Let me move on to conclusion. Then I told you about the organizing main parts, and then I said, I am going to mention certain organizational patterns, and then I mentioned them. Then I said, one last thing I want to tell you before we're done, and then I told you one last thing. See what I'm saying? Little ways to signal where you are. If you do that, there's nothing in your outline that can stress you out. You know exactly what you're doing. You know how much time you have for it. You know what order you're going to put it in. And then you just write your bullet points and you're golden. You're done. You know what you're going to do. If you have any questions, please ask me. And with that, I'm going to leave you because I overused a minute of your time. Alrighty. It was a pleasure. See you next week. We're going to talk about audience analysis. Next week.
Thursday.
No, Thursday. No, next week. Sorry.